Hello, good morning. Welcome to Gaming Insight Daily for Friday, August 1st, 2025. I'm Steve Saylor. This is your sometimes daily show of gaming news, accessibility news, or updates about my life. I've got coffee in my tea Earl Grey hot Star Trek mug today. Yum. Caramel. I not gonna lie. I was kind of in a bad mood going into this episode because I was watching a preview for Silent Hill F. There's been previews that came up this morning, and I was going to talk about it. I was like, okay, you know what? Hey, I love Silent Hill 2's accessibility. I would love to be able to see what Silent Hill F was going to have. I know it's a different team, not Bloober team that's working on it, as they worked on the remake of Silent Hill 2 versus this is a new Silent Hill game made by a different team. And I was kind of like watching, I was watching a preview of it, and I was like, okay, I noticed there's some interesting sort of choices made for the HUD. Definitely looks like there's going to be a little bit larger text size, which I was happy about. It looks like there was a center dot that was there. And then when they talked about that there is multiple difficulty modes, but they did mention that the bosses are challenging and difficult, and that the director was inspired by the recent popularity of the Souls-like genre. And I was like, oh man, because I know exactly what they would have done for accessibility. They just threw in difficulty modes thinking that that's going to fix the genre, and it's not. It never was. Like I feel bad for kind of like promoting it when it was sort of brought up initially in the discourse, and essentially like it's okay. You know what? I'm gonna talk about this. Okay, the reason why. Okay, I'm just gonna say this right now. I am in a good mood now because I just got paid for a thing that I've been waiting for a payment for literally over 2 months now. So I'm very happy now. But I wanted to at least discuss this about Silent Hill F2 or Silent Hill F. You know what? I was gonna talk about Battlefield 6 today, but I'm switching. I'm pulling an audible, and I'm just gonna bring up this this sort of this from IGN. This is from IGN. So I apologize. I'm kind of like all over the place. I'm trying to figure this out as I go. I'm gonna pause it. The music here. I've got it to a certain point in the video where they're talking about this sort of difficulty
weapons
option.
that Hinako finds in this alternate
So here we go.
main boss of my playtime.
Okay, so I apologize for the grossness of it.
Even with my full understanding of the combat mechanics and systems, its long reach, hard to predict attack patterns, and multiple stages required significant trial and error. The boss took me nearly an hour to beat, but gradually learning how to take on the boss was a welcome.
Now I should mention that the reviewer of this, or the previewer of this, was at this preview event. Earlier in the video, he mentioned that he was encouraged to play in story mode, but he said he stubbornly wanted to be able to play in normal. So that's why it said it took him an hour to play on normal.
Challenge that never felt unfair. For reference, my colleague was playing on story mode and defeated the boss on his second try, so that is good to hear. Basically, and like it is, on story mode, it can definitely be relatively easy or more challenging. We don't know, but on story mode, at least it's like it can be less challenging than in normal mode. But let's continue. An acquaintance from another media outlet who was also playing on story mode didn't manage to defeat the boss at all and ran out of time.
I'm going to get to that in a minute because there's a whole other rant about difficulty in this, but I want to at least mention this.
While he didn't specifically mention the Souls-like genre, series producer Motoi Okamoto says that Silent Hill F's combat was inspired by the current popularity of more difficult action games. With multiple difficulty settings, Silent Hill F is by no means a Souls-like, but its boss design shares a similar learning curve that ultimately results in a great feeling of satisfaction when you beat it.
Okay, so it's that point right there that I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about difficulty in a second. I'm actually going to I'll say a little bit of like homework for you if you're watching this. There's going to be a link to a video of a quick, literally a very super quick talk that was done at GA conference, Game Accessibility Conference, done by Ian Hamilton, and he talks about difficulty and video games, and difficulty specifically and accessibility. But let's talk about this aspect of Souls-like games and difficulty settings. Okay. To give the greater context, if you don't remember, when Sekiro Shadows Die Twice came out, there was a news article that was put up by Forbes that said the Sekiro needs an easy mode. And that sort of sent the entire internet at the time into a frenzy, because you had the Souls-like or the Souls fans basically lambasting Forbes, saying, "Oh, it's just you need a journalistic difficulty mode because you can't play games." And then there was some that were saying like, yeah, adding a difficulty settings ruins the integrity or the artistic vision of the game. And then you had folks like us in the disability community that were saying, yeah, actually it can be accessible, like adding it is accessibility. Like having that in there can help us be able to enjoy the challenge of a game like a Souls-like game. Okay. Now, okay, but and so at the time, talking about easy mode or adding at least difficulty modes to a game, and there's even a YouTube video on this channel where I literally was talking about that difficulty modes definitely can help for accessibility. But if I remember myself correctly, and hopefully I did, I said this in the video. If not, I apologize. It's been several years. But my thinking is that adding a difficulty modes is only part of the accessibility story. It can be accessibility, but it's not all of accessibility. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people sort of equate accessibility and easy modes because we want to make the game easier. It's not about making the game easier. It's about presenting the game the way it's intended, but with accessibility built into the design or in options to help those who have physical impairments, whether it's blind, whether it's deaf or hard of hearing, whether it's motor disabilities, whether it's cognitive disabilities, allowing us to be able to enjoy the same challenge. And I've always kind of talked about that. I'm not I'll be a broken record if I repeat it again, but that is the crux of it. I think that argument or that discourse kind of did a disservice to accessibility, because we're seeing, because whenever you look at Souls-like games and accessibility, it's the most common thing that comes up is that adding difficulty modes. And I would argue that is the wrong way to approach a Souls-like game. I understand the genius level of a Souls-like, where you're learning how to be able to defeat a boss by generally dying, learning by your mistakes, essentially. And that is part of the genius of the Souls-like of a Souls-like monster. It's designed to be a puzzle as well as a combat challenge. And that is what Souls-like does best. It provides a combat challenge more than just a hack and slash. You take that aspect of it. You take the hack and slash. You can dodge. You can parry. That's your combat. But the puzzle aspect comes in is knowing when that boss or that enemy is, what their patterns are, so that you know how to be able to have a solution for that pattern. If you know that an enemy is about to be able to swing and they have an overarching sort of swing down, slam down attack, you can either parry it when it's when you see the thing right above their head, or you can dodge out of the way, left or right, in order to be able to miss that hit. So that is the puzzle aspect. You can argue that generally a lot of combat can be seen this way, but Souls games or Souls-like games generally are great at being able to create complex puzzles in that, because as you if you decide to parry, that sort of overarching attack. Then you get a counter attack that you can be able to hit them on the side because they're a little bit more vulnerable now, and because you've blocked their attack, and then you can be able to dodge around them to be able to hit on their vulnerable spot, which is in the back, like would say they have a wings, where they can be able to cut, hack at the slash at their wings so that they can't fly for their next attack that you know is coming. That's the puzzle aspect. That's the strategic aspect of a boss fight within a Souls-like game. That's what it feels like. That's what's meant to feel like. Okay. Adding difficulty modes on that, sure, can help, because generally difficulty modes, for the most part, adjust the timing of those windows, whether it's a parry window or a dodge window. Okay. That's generally, for the most part, what a lot of them do. The patterns still stay the same. You still have to figure that out yourself. The puzzle generally kind of stays the same, and it could be said that basically that there may be less modes or less like they take more, and a boss can take more damage when you figure out the puzzle aspect. But for the most part, the patterns that you're learning to defeat a boss are the same. It's just the timing or the damage dealt might be different depending on the difficulty modes. And that is probably what Silent Hill F is probably going to do. Now, granted, we have not seen any accessibility settings or accessibility mention for Silent Hill F. I've looked at the previews so far, and I haven't really seen any. If I missed one, please let me know in the comment section down below. Or if any of the producers of the game has talked about accessibility previously, let me know in the comment section down below as well. But I'm afraid, though, my fear is that because the series producer has said specifically that they were inspired by the popularity of more difficult combat challenges, means that they're probably, but they realize that they probably did a search on it or whatever, or they saw player feedback and realized, oh, if we add difficulty modes, then that'll fix the general problem that people have with those kind of games. And this is this is not even just talking about accessibility as far as like designing for disabled players. This is just general discourse around Souls-like games or difficult combat games and difficulty modes, because what they probably saw was the discourse around it, and they were like, okay, well, we'll just add difficulty modes. But it doesn't solve the problem that people have with those games, or in that people don't like people who just want a more casual experience and enjoy Silent Hill for its survival horror aspect, which it seems that the game is going to do. By adding in those difficult combat challenges, that might turn people off even with the difficulty modes, and they could be like, well, I can't explain why I can't figure this out. Even on story mode, I'm still having a difficulty with it. And we saw that there was two different experiences with playing with story mode, where one player at the preview event was able to get it done in two tries. The other one couldn't even get it done by the time that the preview time was done. And you may be wondering, well, why is that? Why is it easier for some and not others? It's because, and this goes back to Ian Hamilton's talk that again, I'll link in the description down below. Difficulty really doesn't exist. Difficulty is just an arbitrary sort of set parameters in the engine to declare it as easy, normal, and hard as the sort of the default difficulty options. But the reason why I say difficulty doesn't exist, because it's all based on human variance. What is easy for some is hard for others. What is hard for and vice versa. So in human variance, skill doesn't really kind of come into play. Sure, reflexes do matter in games like this, 100%. But it's also about being able to telegraph when a boss is going to do a thing so that you can react quickly enough. That's generally how the skill kind of works within these games. You recognize the pattern of the end of the attack animation, and you can nail the timing of it. And generally, good reflexes allows you to pick that up really quickly. Sometimes maybe even on the first try. without even really kind of like learning from the patterns of it. That's generally what a good like reflexes are. That's why we have pro athletes in sports and even in games, is because they have that innate ability that reflexes for them comes a lot. Their reflexes are a lot quicker than just other sort of normal players or average players. But essentially it is still human variance. Not every person is different when it comes to playing games. And by adding in difficulty modes just to solve the difficult boss problem isn't the solution that people think it is or think it's going to be. There are other things that you can be able to do to adjust it. Now, granted, if I remember correctly, there might be actually customizable difficulty. There's potential for that, which means that you can be able to customize to your liking, to your comfortability, which is helping to be able to accommodate for human variance. But there are other things to be able to help with that could be built into the design versus anything else. And they do mention that in this video. You can go into what they call focus mode. Let me bring it up actually, because I think it's interesting to talk about. It's in this part. Let's see.
Is often regarded as a burden in games. It works here, as finding a new weapon and repair kits quickly becomes an integral part of the resource management that the survival horror genre is known for, especially since you won't be
Okay, I think let me skip it.
The latter in particular deals a lot of damage and is key in battle. Enemies briefly show a sign when a counterattack can be utilized.
Here we go. This is it. So let's just go back and listen to this.
The latter in particular deals a lot of damage and is key in battle. Enemies briefly show a sign when a counterattack can be utilized, but unless you have trained your reflex skills by playing games of the likes of Sekiro, you will likely have a hard time reacting. That's where the focus mode comes in, which can be triggered by holding L2. Sadly, we don't have any footage of it, but when in focus mode, enemy signs for counterattacks appear for longer, while also charging up a power attack that staggers an enemy. That means you might head into focus mode with the intention of going for a counterattack, but find yourself switching to a power attack when it charges before the enemy shows an opening. Focus mode is tied to Hinako's mental energy gauge, which exists separately from her stamina and health bar. Interestingly, the upper limit of her mental energy decreases when enemies do something that scares her, or when she is frightened by a certain event.
Okay, so then they're going into the frightened aspect, which basically means that when your stamina is low, you have to basically literally stand still because she's scared. Your main character is scared of and can't move forward. So they mention about focus mode. When you hold L2, basically you can sort of it'll telegraph when a counterattack is going to, or when an attack is happening, and you know when to be able to counter. And basically that effect or whatever lasts longer. So it could be very similar to in Silent Hill 2 Remake, where basically if there's like a little kind of glint of light that sort of lets you know when to be able to kind of like block or parry or dodge. That is a good solution. Whether or not it will work on bosses, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be that this previewer at IGN either didn't use it or had difficulty trying to be able to figure it out. I'd be very curious if they have that in boss fights. I don't know. Or focus mode focus mode seems to be a limited resource. So that could potentially be that solution around sort of a bigger, like kind of like different sort of enemies that are not necessarily bosses. Okay, so that I think that'll help in that regard, because your stamina may, like your focus mode built into stamina may not have to be as long, because if you're working on enemies or you're attacking enemies that can be taken out in a couple hits, then that focus mode can last the length of the entire fight if need be. Means you're having to hold down L2, and I would hope that there's an option to be able to toggle that instead of to hold it, because that'd be great. That's accessibility. That's for disabled players. That's for motor disabled players, and even for myself, because I prefer toggles sometimes than just having to hold down for a long time. Whether or not this is going to work for a boss fight will take longer, which means that you will run out of stamina, which will affect your ability to be able to use your weapons. And that could be proved to be challenging. So what I hope is that you can extend that focus timer, that focus mode timer, or be able to have it where it'll just be permanently on and not affect stamina. I get why they want to have it as sort of like a limited resource, because you are not necessarily like, you are playing a teenage girl. You are not playing a Leon Kennedy or even a James Sunderland, basically, who seems to know how to be able to use every type of weapon that he comes across. Okay, this is a teenage girl, so I understand that they're trying to be able to keep it to the like, would a teenage girl know be really good at combat? I mean, it's showing that she has that capability. But again, is that enough to be able to work on the difficult, challenging mode? I don't know. I wish I was able to be included in the preview, but I was not, and that's fine. It happens. It's not to say I'm not mad about it at all. It's just I would love to be able to see more, have more information on it, and so I could be able to. It would answer these questions. And the reason why, and it sounds as if I'm kind of contradicting myself, that basically saying that, oh, Silent Hill F is only going to have difficulty modes, and that's the only thing that they did. And then I talk about focus mode, which essentially could fix a lot of those the issues that I just talked about. And that's not the point of this video. The point of this video, I'm saying, is that I'm hoping that studios, and I'm basically imploring to developers and studios, this is a warning. Don't take, if you want to make a difficult combat challenging game, don't just add difficulty modes and think that you fix the problem. There's a lot more to do than that. And it seems that Silent Hill F, potentially, with that focus mode, and hopefully maybe others, the other accessibility, that could be able to sort of accommodate for it. But when it comes to sort of the difficulty modes, it's not the only, it's not the be all end all solution. It's not okay, we added it in, now it's all accessible and we're good to go. It doesn't work. Accessibility does not work that way. And I say accessibility in the general sense of not necessarily just for disabled players. Accessibility is for everyone. We say that as a cliche, but it really is for everyone. Accessibility means that gamers can be able to play the games however they want and customize the game however they want, and still be able to play the game and enjoy the same challenge as everything else. Enjoy and making the game more fun. I used to say that basically makes the game more the same challenge as everyone else, but it literally just make the game more fun for the player. Whatever comfort level, whatever comfortability, whatever settings they need to be able to enable. Okay? So basically the thesis of this video is, don't fall into the trap of, if you're going to build a game that has a Souls-like type boss fight, don't just add a difficulty modes and think and call it a day. There are other things that you can be able to do if you just look into the game design aspect of it. Still try to keep the cool genius aspect of combat with puzzles, with puzzle mechanics built into one. What can you be able to do to be able to make that more accessible, but still keep the challenge alive for as much human variance as you possibly can? Okay. I just ranted about that for 22 minutes. Oh, goodness me. Well, I hope that made sense. If you have any questions about anything of that, please leave a comment and please leave a comment down below. I'll link to the full video from IGN just so you can be able to watch it for yourself, so you can be able to maybe pick up some things that I may have missed. I watched it looking for specifically for accessibility, and I didn't hear much about that other than the focus mode and the difficulty options. But that's about it. And sometimes that's all there is in these kind of previews. So I'm looking for any type of information. If you see any, even after this video is way past its launch date, put that in there for the comments down below if anyone finds it later. All right, thanks so much for watching. It's Friday, so I will be taking Monday off for it's the Canadian Civic Holiday long weekend. So I'll be taking Monday off, but I'll be back again on Tuesday with another episode. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you then next time. Bye-bye.